Customer states, Carl, can you look at my brakes and give me an oil change? Oil change places won't do it. They say my drain pan's all stripped out. I can't touch it. Do any scientist mechanics know why Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep lug nuts do this? All right, we got holes drilled in the lugs with croil inside. 19 millimeter hammered on. Lug nut was swollen. Had to hammer it on there. Why do all these lug nuts seize? Shout out to the Olsa Tools breaker bar. Look at it bend. Whew, it's gonna shear the lug nut. There is a crack starting. Oh, that might just be the beauty ring, but that's about where they'll shear, and you'll still have a threaded conical piece of the lug nut stuck to the lug stud, and it's just fused together to the rim. All right, guys, I really want to snap this off to show you what happens on these. This is a thing where they salt the roads, and we got a problem with this caliper. It's heating up more than the other side. The other side came off fine. I'm going to show you a solution you can use to prevent this from happening. But something about these Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge aluminum alloy rims with that steel from the lug nuts. If you live anywhere where they salt the roads, it fuses together, and I want to show you where it fuses. Let's try to snap it. I think we might have just got the beauty cap on this one. I think I had a better bite the last time. Let's try the next lug. All right, this one's not all.
Beauty cap right on over.
Rounded it over.
Yep.
Let's try this one.
Red fish, blue fish.
Rounding it over again.
Ugh. No luck today, I swear.
Come over here. Car manufacturers, please stop using these beauty cap.
It's the only one that came loose.
This is a two-piece lug nut design, and it's absolutely stupid. See, there's a little shell that comes off of there. And the actual steel under there is an 18 millimeter. When the cap's on, it's a 19 millimeter. Where they fuse is not in the threads, but right here, this conical part fuses to the aluminum rim. And that's why they seize on these. You can see we drilled a hole through to get that croil in. You see the croil's doing a good job working its way through the threads. The threads are not the problem. This is the problem. The two metals are fused together. Over torquing, salt, heating and cooling with the combination of the whatever metal these are made out of, it just fuses together. A Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler problem as far as these fusing to the, what is that, a taper in the rim, the wheel. So we had to hammer all these sockets on, and we made them 19 millimeter again. And they're stuck on there so good, the beauty cap starts distorting before it'll break free. And then at that point, you've done rounded your 18 millimeter hex as well. This is an easily solvable situation, and it's like manufacturers love making our job harder. And when our job's harder, the consumer pays more. It's like they don't give a crap about the consumer or the technicians working on the vehicles. They don't. Maybe they're saving a couple pennies over solid steel. I don't know what the point of the beauty cap is. You can get a 20 pack of lug nuts for this vehicle for 23 bucks from Napa or wherever. They're solid, and you won't run into this issue if you install them. Every Jeep, if you buy a used Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, with aluminum rims, not steel wheels. Steel wheels are fine. First thing you should do is just get that 20 pack of lug nuts for 20 some bucks, change them. These are horrible, they're awful. We gotta drill or torch all of them out, all 4 of them. I'm still gonna try to snap one in half. Hopefully I can get a good enough bite to snap one in half because it looks really cool when it happens. There's a tool for this situation, a lug nut ripper, or you can drill through them, or you can torch them out. Either way, it's a pain in the rear whenever this happens. It really sucks when somebody's like, hey, can you do a brake inspection? And it's like, well, give me a couple hours to drill out all your lug studs. Like, you're gonna end up spending hundreds of dollars just to have your brakes inspected. I mean, obviously you can look at the thickness of the pads, but you can't really check to see if the slides are lubricated or anything. So, it sucks. All right, we started turning this one. You can see the coil seeping out now, so I did something. I don't know if it's snapping or rounding. I might have just cracked the beauty cap and some of the coil came out. We've done this experiment before where you spray the lug nuts, and we had like a 70% success rate on them unseizing after a week of spraying every day. But there was still a few we had to drill. Or I think I torched those out. Well, we turned it that far. I heard some creaking. I don't know what was doing the creaking. I won't know until something gives all the way. And it's sandal season. I think it was the beauty cap cracking, and that's what released the coil. Yep, all right. Here's a good shot of our 18, and they don't have as sharp of edges as a regular lug nut because they're supposed to have a beauty cap on them, and they just round. When you run into this situation, you're better off cutting the beauty cap off and then putting an 18 on them and hoping to get lucky. But look, doesn't it look like I torqued it a little bit? Like it's a little cocked on this one and this one?
Possibly.
We got 4 out of 5 that are gonna need extraction here.
Shaking my head.
I wish one of them would have snapped. That's always fun. Not a good enough bite on these lug nuts.
Nope.
Shout out to the Olsa Tools breaker bar for taking the abuse. You saw it start bending and it just always goes back to its original shape. I saw a really cool video of them putting an insane amount of torque on this and it not breaking or distorting. Pretty cool. If I can find it, I'll put it right here.
Up to 490 foot-pounds of torque, 520, 570.
We got almost the whole stud drilled out. Now what I want to do, just for funsies, we have these lug nut extractor bits. Where's the case at, Jamie? Right here. Got these off Amazon. If they work good, I'll put a link in the comments or something. XWE 9-piece bolt and nut extractor set. Watch Jamie cough. You can do better than that, Jamie. all that peanut butter blaster vapors he's inhaling. Yep, these are extractors for rounded lug nuts. Let's hammer one on here. Here, Jamie. Well, it sheared our beauty cap off for us and very nicely. I just hammered a 17. There's no 18 in that set on, and it's not. I wish there was an 18 in that set, but we'll see how the 17 does. There might be a little too much of that stud left on there still. Just not quite, you know, of a bite. We needed to get all the way back there. Yeah, I think we got to drill a little bit more.
A little further.
We're about flush with, I'd say, the face of the wheel, and we need to take off that concave part. Where's that look? We got to get through that fat section, that concave section that sits in there, and then that lug nut should hammer off. All right, so we got it drilled out pretty far. You can finish her with the old air chisel, like that.
Nice.
So you just, this one's filed down a bit, and once you get enough of the threads out, then you can just push what's remaining of the lug stud out. So what do you think that was? Total of 4 or 5 minutes, Jamie?
Something like that.
Like of actual work?
Yeah.
Probably took 4 or 5 minutes to get all the tools out.
Yeah.
But you need sharp drill bits. I mean, you're gonna rip right through it with some really good drill bits like those spiders that we use. And the biggest one in the spider set is perfect for 19 millimeter lug nuts.
Make sure to lube. Use lube.
There's the rest of our lug stud.
Back in there.
So it's gonna cost this customer $23 and some change plus tax for a set of the lug nuts from Napa. They had the best price. And then 4 lug studs. I think those are like $3 a piece. And charge them extra hour labor, you know, for doing this. If you look at this chisel, it is like, look how center Jamie drilled that. That was pretty center. We didn't catch any of the lug nut, just the stud like we wanted. And this chisel bit is filed down for another purpose, but it fits perfectly in those 19 mil studs. Sometimes you got to use your air chisel to fix your air chisel. Watch out, Jamie.
Hey.
Here's our finished product right here. We'll be replacing 4 lug studs. And the whole reason we were doing this, one of these things is not like the other. We got a snapped caliper bolt, and it's causing slight grindage right there on the outside of the rotor. Rotor doesn't look too horrible, just that little grind mark. So now let's take our caliper off and get that extracted. All right, we got the top bolt off. The back one's right there, and you can see the caliper pinches between the two, so we can't take the caliper off till we get this to go past the pad, and we need the brake hose off to do that, so zipping that off now. One thing after another. Here's our caliper pins here. They thread into the caliper ear. We got a couple choices here. We can drill it out. We can give her a little bit of heat and vice grips and try to get her to turn. We can buy a new caliper. You do you, boo. All right, before we go any further, this is Michigan, so we want to make sure the bleeder doesn't snap, right, Sammy?
No snappy snappy.
Oh yeah, easy peasy. Like, it's such a blessing here in Michigan when you have a bleeder that comes out that easy.
Oh, that's
Ridiculous.
a feel-good feeling right there. It's so warm and fuzzy.
Now, I already broke this free with the vice grips. See, it's spinning, and it did not take much. It was not seized in the threads, so I have no idea why that head's missing. It's pretty crazy. This threads all the way through, so we can pick whichever way we want to spin it. It does not matter. We can spin it one way, and it'll come all the way through the end. Now we got to go and fish us out a new slide pin from our hardware bucket, or get one from the parts store. They usually sell them for like $5 or something. So we don't have the caliper pressed back good. It looks good. So we just got to get a caliper pin for it. Slap everything back together. But that would have been the icing on the cake if that would have snapped or something. So I was going to go vice grips, and then if that didn't work, heat up the edge with my torch. There is a lot of rust in there. And then last resort would be welding a nut onto this, weld it on both sides, and then we could spin it off. Check out how much rust is in there. So I'm surprised it came out so easily with the vice grips, but I got right on this little lipped edge right here, and the vice grips dug in good. I love the flat style vice grips over the rounded edge for doing stuff like this. All right, let's find us a pin and get this simple brake inspection done finally.
You gonna help us, Sammy? You gonna help us? You gonna help us today? Huh?
Dang, look how rusty, crusty this hub is. Just the surface. This is pretty much what I expect from a Jeep axle nut, so that's no big surprise. But that hub and rotor surface needs a good cleaning. And to remove these lug studs, all you got to do is beat it. Turn them to the opening where the caliper was. It's a little harder to turn by hand with the wheel off, and it turned all the way. Another, one more. Whew, that was a rocket. You just take your wire wheel all around this, and we'll use our little hub buddy tool to clean around this stud. If I can't get it nice and clean with the hub buddy or with the wire wheel. For installing the new studs, we got to get the studs and lug nuts from the parts store still. This is a lug installer tool, works great. There's also redneck ways with washers and stuff, but you put your new stud through the back, then you put this installer tool, it's got a bearing on the back, and then you tighten your lug nut and it draws the stud in. And you're going to do that until it's flat and you can't fit your fingernail in it. Make sure you start it straight. 4 new lug studs. Cleaned up the rotor and the hub. We've got the mounting bracket cleaned up. There is some rust buildup in between the hardware. I thought we'd just do that while it was off. We'll put our bracket back on, our pads back on, rotor back on. Get that new slide pin from the parts store. That's our last piece to the puzzle. Get our caliper back on. Bleed our brakes because we took this off so we could put the caliper in the vise. That'll be everything put back together. We're going to clean our rim off and put anti-seize, just a very thin layer on this conical area, not the threads of the stud or anything. And with these new redesigned lug nuts, the chance of seizing like this one did is much lower. Get rid of those junk OEM lug nuts, guys. They're horrible. And then she'll be done. Oh yeah, let's not forget the main reason she brought it in. Here is the oil pan drain plug. The sun's coming down, and it looks a lot worse in person than it does on camera. We actually straightened it out with a 1/2-inch 6-sided socket, hammering it on there. It looked like somebody ugga-duggaed it, and with the amount of torque it took to get this drain pan plug off, it was a lot. I stopped because I was like, this is gonna snap, and then I gave it another go and it came loose for me. I actually straightened it out pretty good. I'm gonna recommend she comes back here for her next oil change, and we have a plug ready for her. But yeah, quick oil change places when it touch it. It was really nasty. We straightened it out pretty good. I'm surprised.